Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova and stared at the view screen. 3 massive ships had just appeared from nowhere. Each one was bigger than his research vessel. Much bigger. The ships looked like they were built for war. Sharp edges, dark metal, and weapons that could probably blow up a small moon. "Captain, they're sending us a message," said Lieutenant Ben Carter from his station. Ben handled all communication for the ship. He looked nervous. Everyone on the bridge looked nervous. "Put it on screen," Jake said. He tried to keep his voice calm. The crew needed to see their captain stay cool. The screen flickered. A face appeared. It was not human. The alien had blue-gray skin and yellow eyes. Its head was longer than a human head. Sharp teeth showed when it spoke. It wore what looked like military clothes with lots of medals. "I am Commander Zethkar of the Kaltharan Empire," the alien said. Its voice was deep and rough. "You will submit to Imperial rule. Your ship and your people now belong to the Empire." Jake looked around the bridge. Dr. Amy Rodriguez sat at her science station. She was the ship's expert on alien life. Amy was already working on something. Her fingers moved fast over her controls. She was recording everything. We don't understand," Jake said to the screen. He made his voice sound scared and confused. "We're just scientists. We study space." Commander Zethkar made a sound that might have been laughter. "All species say this when we find them." "You are weak. You have no choice. The Empire takes what it wants." Amy kept working at her station. She was recording the alien's voice patterns. She was studying how he moved and how he talked. She was also scanning the alien ships with every sensor the Terra Nova had. "Please," Jake said. "We mean no harm. We were just exploring." "Exploring is for the Empire," Zethkar said. "Lesser species stay on their homeworlds. You have broken Imperial law by leaving your system." Ben was listening carefully to how the aliens talked. He was a language expert. He could learn new languages very fast. While Jake talked to the alien commander, Ben was figuring out their speech patterns. He was also recording their communication signals. The alien ships were huge. Amy's scans showed they had powerful shields and weapons. But she noticed something interesting. The ship's energy patterns were very regular, very predictable. They used the same type of power for everything. Shields, weapons, engines, all the same energy type. "What do you want from us?" Jake asked. "Your world will send tribute ships," Zethkar said. "Food, metals, workers. Your people will serve the Empire. This is how it has always been." Amy found more interesting things in her scans. The alien ships had no backup systems. If their main power failed, everything would fail. Human ships always had backup power. These aliens seemed to trust their technology completely. "How much tribute?" Jake asked. He was still acting scared and weak. "Your entire world's production for 1 year," the alien said. "This is the price for being found by the Empire. If you refuse, we will take everything anyway. Your people will become slaves instead of servants." Ben had figured out some of their language by now. The aliens used very formal speech. Everything was about rank and order. The commander never asked questions. He only gave orders. Ben could see this was how their whole society worked. Amy discovered something else. The alien ships were scanning the Terra Nova too. But their scans were very basic. They were looking for weapons and shields. They did not look for sensor equipment or recording devices. They did not think a weak species would be studying them. "We need time," Jake said, "to contact our leaders, to prepare the tribute." "You have 1 solar cycle," Zethkar said. "We will return to this location. Have your tribute ships ready. If you are not here, we will come to your homeworld. The tribute will be doubled. 1 solar cycle," Jake repeated. "We understand." Amy was still scanning and recording. She had found the frequency of their shield generators. She had recorded their weapon signatures. She was learning how their ships worked. The aliens had no idea humans were this good at gathering information. "Do not try to hide," the commander said. "Do not try to run. The Empire finds all species eventually. It is better to submit now." "We won't run," Jake said. "We'll get the tribute ready." Ben had learned enough of their language to understand their private communications. The aliens were talking to each other on their ships. They were very confident. They thought humans were just another weak species. They had done this many times before. The alien commander looked at Jake with his yellow eyes. "Good. The Empire rewards those who submit quickly. Your world will have a place in our domain." Amy's scan showed something important. The alien ships had very advanced technology. But they had weak points too. Their shields worked well against energy weapons, but they might not work as well against solid objects moving very fast. Physical projectiles, we will be ready, Jake said. See that you are, Zethkar said. The screen went dark. The 3 alien ships moved away from the Terra Nova. They disappeared as quickly as they had appeared. Probably some kind of faster-than-light travel. But Amy had recorded the energy signature of their departure, too. Jake turned to his crew. Report, Amy looked up from her station. I got everything, Captain. Ship designs, energy patterns, weapon signatures, shield frequencies, even some of their internal communications. Ben nodded. I've got their language basics figured out. Their communication system uses predictable patterns. Very formal, very structured. Good work, Jake said. Set course for Earth, best speed. Amy saved all her data to secure storage. She had learned so much in just one conversation. The aliens thought humans were weak and stupid. They had no idea that humans were natural scientists. They did not know that humans studied everything. The Terra Nova turned toward home. Jake knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would be back in 1 year, but humans would be ready. Not with tribute ships, with something much better. Amy was already thinking about all the things she had learned. The aliens were powerful but overconfident. They followed patterns. They had weaknesses. Most importantly, they had no idea how much humans had learned from just one meeting. The race against time had begun. Humans had 1 year to figure out how to deal with an empire that had probably conquered hundreds of worlds. But they had something the empire did not expect. They had scientists who took very good notes. The meeting room deep under the Pentagon was full of the most important people on Earth. Admiral Lisa Park sat at the head of the table. She commanded all of humanity's space forces. Around the table sat generals, scientists, engineers, and world leaders. They had all seen the recording from the Terra Nova. Let's start with what we know, Admiral Park said. She looked calm, but everyone could see the concern in her eyes. Dr. Rodriguez, tell us about these Caltharans. Amy Rodriguez stood up. She had spent 3 days studying every piece of data from the alien encounter. The Caltharans are clearly a military species. Everything about them suggests they value strength and order above all else. Their technology is advanced, but it follows very predictable patterns. She activated a holographic display. The alien ships appeared in the air above the table. Their vessels are built for intimidation as much as combat. Large, imposing, covered in weapons. But there are weaknesses. Professor Gary Wells leaned forward. He was the top engineer at MIT. What kind of weaknesses? Their shields emit a very specific energy signature, Amy said. They're designed to stop energy weapons. Lasers, plasma bolts, particle beams. But I don't think they're optimized for kinetic projectiles. You mean bullets? Asked General Frank Hayes. More like railgun slugs or mass drivers, Gary said. He was already thinking like an engineer. If their shields are energy-based, physical objects might punch right through. Admiral Park made notes on her tablet. What else? Dr. Nina Foster spoke up. She was a psychologist who specialized in alien behavior patterns. Their communication style tells us a lot about their society. Very rigid hierarchy. The commander never asked questions, only gave orders. They expect instant obedience. That could be useful, said Director Carl Wright from the CIA. Rigid thinking means predictable behavior. Amy nodded. Lieutenant Carter's language analysis supports that. Their entire communication system is based on rank and status. They probably have trouble adapting when things don't go according to plan. The President's science advisor, Dr. Helen Park, raised her hand. What about their technology level? Can we match it? Gary shook his head. Not directly. Their ships are probably centuries ahead of ours in raw power. But advanced doesn't always mean better. Sometimes it means overcomplicated. Admiral Park looked around the table. What's our standard response to threats we can't match directly? We study them, said Amy. We learn everything we can. We find weaknesses. Exactly, the Admiral said. We don't panic. We don't surrender. We do what humans do best. We take notes. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Director Wright spoke. What do we need? Time, said Gary, and information. Lots of information. Admiral Park turned to her operations chief. Colonel Dan Smith, what can we do for intelligence gathering? Colonel Smith had been planning since the Terra Nova's return. We have 12 scout ships that could reach Caltharan space. Small, stealthy, built for observation. We could have eyes on their border systems within 6 weeks. Do it, Admiral Park said. But carefully. We can't let them know we're watching. Dr. Foster raised her hand again. I need behavioral data, how they interact with each other, with other species. If we're going to fight them, we need to understand how they think. What about their weapons? Asked General Hayes. Gary was already pulling up technical data. Dr. Rodriguez's scans show they use directed energy weapons exclusively. Plasma-based, from what I can tell. Very powerful, but also very predictable. No kinetic weapons at all? Admiral Park asked. None that we detected, Amy said. It's like they forgot that rocks can hurt you if you throw them fast enough. The president's chief of staff looked confused. Are you saying we should fight spaceships with rocks? Gary smiled for the first time in the meeting. Not rocks. Tungsten rose, depleted uranium slugs, ceramic jacketed steel projectiles, all moving at a significant fraction of light speed. Our railgun technology is already pretty advanced, added Colonel Smith. We just never built it into warships because everyone assumed space combat would be all lasers and missiles. Admiral Park was making more notes. Dr. Rodriguez, start a full xenobiology program. I want to know everything about Caltheran physiology, psychology, and culture. Dr. Foster, work with her on behavioral analysis. Gary, I want you leading a team on countermeasures. Study their technology and figure out how to beat it. Not match it, beat it. The MIT professor nodded. I'll need access to all the sensor data. You'll have it, Admiral Park said. Colonel Smith, expand the scout program. I want full intelligence on at least a dozen Caltharan systems. Patrol patterns, ship types, communication networks, everything. Director Wright leaned back in his chair. What about the tribute demand? They'll be back in 11 months expecting Earth to surrender. Admiral Park's expression was grim but determined. Then we'll give them something they're not expecting. Dr. Foster spoke up. Admiral, there's something else. The way Commander Zethkar talked about other species. He mentioned that the Empire has done this before. Many times. You think there are other conquered worlds? I'm certain of it, Nina said. And some of those species might not be happy about it. The room went quiet again. Admiral Park looked around the table. Are you suggesting we look for allies? I'm suggesting we find out who else the Caltharans have pushed around, Nina said. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, finished Director Wright. That's good thinking. Admiral Park stood up. All right, people. We have 11 months to go from a research mission to whatever this is going to be. Gary, how long to develop kinetic weapons for our ships? Give me 6 months and I'll have prototypes, Gary said. 8 months and I'll have production models. Colonel Smith, how long to map their border defenses? 4 months for basic intelligence. 6 for detailed analysis. Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Foster, how long to understand their psychology well enough to predict their behavior? Amy and Nina looked at each other. 3 months for basic patterns, Amy said. 6 months for detailed behavioral models. Admiral Park nodded. Then we have a timeline. Questions? Gary raised his hand. Admiral, what if they come back early? What if they decide to check on us? Then we better make sure our scouts are really good at hiding, Admiral Park said. Because the last thing we want is for them to know we're studying them. The meeting broke up into smaller groups. Gary immediately started talking to Colonel Smith about ship modifications. Amy and Nina began planning their research programs. Director Wright started thinking about intelligence operations. Admiral Park stayed in her chair as the room emptied. She looked at the holographic display still showing the Caltharan ships. They looked powerful and frightening, but she had fought in 3 wars and learned something important. The scariest enemy was often the one who looked the most intimidating. Humans had survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and natural disasters. They had done it by being smart, adaptable, and really good at learning from their mistakes. The Caltharans were about to learn why that was a problem for them. The Admiral smiled. The aliens thought they had found another weak species to conquer. Instead, they had found humans. And humans were about to do what they did best. They were going to study the problem until they solved it. 3 months had passed since the Terra Nova's encounter with the Caltharan Empire. The underground facility in Colorado had become the center of humanity's most important research project. Dr. Amy Rodriguez stood in front of a massive wall display showing 17 star systems. Each one was marked with detailed information about Caltharan military presence, trade routes, and patrol patterns. We've mapped their entire border region, Amy said to the assembled team, and what we found is very interesting. Captain Sam Burke had been leading the scout ship operations. His small, stealthy vessels had spent 3 months watching Calthuran space from a safe distance. They follow the same patterns everywhere, Sam said. Same patrol routes, same response times, same tactical formations. Amy nodded. It's like they have a manual for conquering worlds and they never change it. Engineer Kate Mitchell was studying the technical data from all 17 systems. She had found something important. Their shield technology is exactly the same on every ship. Same frequency, same power output, same defensive patterns. That's unusual, said Professor Gary Wells. Most species improve their technology over time. These Caltharans seem to have found something that works and stuck with it. Dr. Nina Foster had been analyzing behavioral patterns from intercepted communications. Their military doctrine is completely rigid. Every commander follows exact procedures. There's no room for individual thinking. Dr. Ryan Cole looked up from his language studies. He had been working day and night to understand Caltharan communications. I've cracked their encryption system. It's based on their honor codes. Very predictable once you understand their culture. Admiral Park walked into the room. Report, Amy gestured to the wall display. Admiral, the Caltharan Empire is powerful, but it has serious weaknesses. They've conquered dozens of worlds using the same methods every time. Which are? Sam stepped forward. Overwhelming force applied directly. They show up with massive fleets, demand surrender, and blow up anything that resists. It's worked for them for probably centuries. But Admiral Park could hear there was more. But they've never faced guerrilla warfare, Sam said. Every species they've conquered either surrendered immediately or tried to fight them ship to ship. No one has ever used hit-and-run tactics. Kate was excited about her technical discoveries. Admiral, their shields are optimized for one specific threat, directed energy weapons. They've built their entire defensive strategy around stopping lasers and plasma bolts. What about kinetic weapons? Their shields barely slow down physical projectiles, Kate said. I've run the calculations a dozen times. A railgun slug moving at high velocity would punch right through their defenses. Gary was looking at ship design data. It gets better. Their ships are built like flying fortresses. Heavy armor, powerful shields, massive weapons. But they're slow and they can't maneuver quickly. Admiral Park studied the information. What about their communication networks? Ryan smiled. Completely compromised. Their encryption is based on honor protocols that never change. Once I learned their cultural codes, their entire communication system became an open book. We can read all their messages? Every single one, Ryan said. Military orders, supply schedules, patrol routes, everything. Nina had been quiet during the technical discussions. Now she spoke up. Admiral, there's something else. The Caltharans have a psychological weakness. Explain. They've been winning for so long that they can't imagine losing, Nina said. Their entire culture is built around the idea that they're superior to all other species. They've never had to adapt or change tactics. Amy brought up new data on the wall display. We've identified 5 subject species in their empire. All of them were conquered the same way. Overwhelming force, immediate surrender demanded, total submission required. Have any of them ever rebelled? Not successfully, Sam said. The few that tried used conventional military tactics. They built big fleets and tried to fight the Caltharans directly. They all lost. Admiral Park walked closer to the display. What about the species that are still under Caltharan rule? Are they happy about it? Nina consulted her notes. From what we can tell, no. The Caltharans treat their subjects like property. Heavy tribute, forced labor, no freedom of movement. Potential allies, Admiral Park asked. Definitely, Amy said. But they'd need to see that the Caltharans can actually be beaten. Kate had been working on something while the others talked. Admiral, I think I know how to beat their shields completely. Everyone turned to look at her. Kate brought up a technical diagram. Their shields work by deflecting energy, but they use a lot of power to do it. If we hit them with kinetic weapons at specific frequencies, we can make their shields work against them. How? We make the shields vibrate, Kate said. Like hitting a wine glass with the right musical note. If we can match the resonance frequency of their shield generators, we can make them tear themselves apart. Gary was studying Kate's calculations. That's brilliant. And completely insane. But it might work. Admiral Park looked around the room. What do we need to make this happen? Sam spoke first. We need ships designed for hit-and-run attacks. Fast, maneuverable, hard to catch, Kate nodded. And railguns. Lots of railguns. With frequency-specific ammunition. I need more intelligence on their subject species, Nina said. If we're going to coordinate with potential allies, we need to know who we're dealing with. Ryan was already thinking ahead. And I need to create false communication protocols. If we can feed them fake information through their own networks, we can control what they know about us. Admiral Park made notes on her tablet. Timeline? Gary looked at his engineering data. Give me 2 more months and I'll have prototype ships ready for testing. 4 months and we can start production. Intelligence gathering? Admiral Park asked. Sam checked his operation schedule. 2 more months to map their core systems. We've only seen their border regions so far. Amy had been thinking about the bigger picture. Admiral, there's something we need to consider. The Caltherans will be back in 8 months, but what if we don't wait for them? You want to take the fight to them? I want to demonstrate to their subject species that the Empire can be beaten, Amy said. One small victory could spark rebellions across their territory. Nina was excited about the psychological implications. If we can shatter their image of invincibility, their whole system might collapse. They rule through fear and intimidation. Admiral Park was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. The Caltherans think they're dealing with a primitive species that will either surrender or try to match their technology directly. Instead, they're dealing with humans, Sam said, who study problems until we solve them, Kate added, and who don't fight fair when the odds are against us, Gary said. Admiral Park looked at the wall display showing 17 Caltharan systems. All right, people. New timeline. 6 months to be ready for offensive operations. 8 months to be ready for their return. What about the tribute demand? Ryan asked. Admiral Park's smile got wider. Oh, we'll give them tribute. Just not the kind they're expecting. The team dispersed to continue their work. Amy stayed behind to study the data. 3 months ago, the Caltherans had seemed like an unstoppable force. Now she could see dozens of weaknesses and opportunities. The aliens had made one critical mistake. They had encountered humans and assumed they were just another primitive species. They had no idea that humans were natural scientists and engineers. They did not know that humans studied their enemies until they found ways to beat them. The Caltherans were about to learn why underestimating humans was a very bad idea. The shipyard floating in Earth's orbit looked nothing like the massive space docks that built exploration vessels. This facility was different, smaller, hidden behind sensor-blocking asteroids that had been carefully moved into position. Inside, workers were building ships unlike anything humanity had ever created. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck watching the construction. The new ships were not impressive to look at. They were small, angular, and painted matte black to absorb sensor beams. No smooth curves or elegant designs. These ships were built for one purpose, to fight the Caltharan Empire and win. How many are ready? Asked Admiral Park, joining Jake at the observation window. 12 so far, Jake said. Gary's team is finishing 8 more this week. Below them, engineer Kate Mitchell was inspecting one of the new vessels. It was barely 1/10 the size of a Caltharan warship, but it carried something the aliens had never seen before. 3 railgun turrets designed to fire frequency-specific projectiles. Kate climbed aboard the ship to check the weapon systems. The railguns looked simple compared to Caltharan energy weapons. No glowing crystals or exotic power sources, just electromagnetic accelerators that could launch tungsten rods at incredible speeds. Test the resonance calibration, Kate told her engineering team. The railguns rotated and aimed at a target drone. When they fired, there was no bright flash or visible beam, just 3 small projectiles moving too fast to see. The target drone's shields activated automatically. For a moment they held. Then they began to vibrate. The frequency of the tungsten rods matched the shield generator's resonance point exactly. The shields tore themselves apart in seconds. Perfect, Kate said. Load the production ammunition. Admiral Park watched the test with satisfaction. What about the other modifications? Jake pointed to different parts of the ship. Stealth coating to reduce sensor signatures. Enhanced maneuvering thrusters for quick direction changes. Minimal crew compartments to keep the ship small. How minimal? 4 crew members per ship, Jake said. Pilot, weapons officer, engineer, communications specialist. Kate finished her inspection and joined them on the observation deck. Admiral, the frequency weapons are ready for mass production. I've calculated resonance points for Caltharan shields, hull plating, and even their engine systems. Their engines? If we hit them with the right frequency, we can make their own power systems work against them, Kate said. Imagine trying to drive a car while the engine shakes itself apart. Professor Gary Wells entered the observation area carrying a data tablet. Admiral, we've got news from the scout teams. Report. Captain Burke's people have mapped the Caltheran core systems, Gary said. We've found their main supply depot. One facility that serves their entire border fleet. Admiral Park looked interested. How well defended? That's the strange part, Gary said. It's barely defended at all. They have 2 patrol ships and some automated defense platforms. Nothing that could stop a determined attack. Jake understood immediately. They've never had to defend their supply lines. No one has ever attacked their rear areas. Exactly, Gary said. Their entire military doctrine assumes direct frontal attacks against their main fleets. Kate was studying the scout data. Admiral, if we take out their supply depot, their border fleets will be cut off. No fuel, no ammunition, no replacement parts. How long could they operate without supplies? Based on their fuel consumption patterns, maybe 6 weeks, Gary said. Less if they have to fight battles. Admiral Park was quiet for a moment, thinking. What about our own supply situation? Jake had been working on that problem for months. We've established hidden supply caches in neutral space. Small asteroids with fuel and ammunition stored inside. The Caltharans would never think to look for them. How many caches? 37 so far, Jake said. Enough to keep our fleet operating for months without returning to Earth. Dr. Nina Foster arrived carrying her psychological analysis reports. Admiral, I have an update on Caltharan behavior patterns. What have you learned? Nina consulted her notes. The Caltharans have never encountered what they would call dishonorable tactics. In their culture, warriors face each other directly. Running away or attacking from behind is considered cowardly. That's useful, Admiral Park said. It gets better, Nina continued. They're psychologically unprepared for enemies who don't follow their rules. When faced with unexpected tactics, they tend to freeze up or make poor decisions. Kate looked up from her technical data. What kind of unexpected tactics? Hit-and-run attacks. False retreats? Coordinated swarm assaults. Attacking supply lines instead of main fleets, Nina said. Basically everything we're planning to do. Dr. Ryan Cole joined the group. He had been monitoring Caltharan communications from the secret listening post on Luna. Admiral, I have intelligence on their return schedule. When are they coming back? 4 months, Ryan said. But there's more. Commander Zethkar has been promoted. He's now in charge of a much larger fleet. How much larger? 15 ships instead of 3, Ryan said. The Empire is taking Earth seriously now. Jake smiled grimly. Good. The bigger the fleet, the more impressive it will be when we beat them. Admiral Park turned to address the entire group. Status report. Are we ready? Gary checked his construction schedules. We'll have 40 combat ships ready in 3 months. 60 ships in 4 months. Kate nodded. All weapon systems tested and calibrated. Frequency ammunition in mass production. Jake looked at his tactical plans. Flight crews trained in unconventional combat maneuvers. Supply caches positioned and ready. Nina consulted her psychological profiles. Behavioral prediction models complete. I can tell you how they'll react to almost any tactical situation. Ryan had been preparing for this moment. Communication intercept network fully operational. I can read their messages and send false information through their own systems. Admiral Park looked satisfied. What about potential allies? Amy Rodriguez entered the observation deck carrying her xenobiology reports. Admiral, I've been analyzing the subject species in Caltharan territory. 3 of them have technical capabilities that could be useful. Details. The Urani were master shipbuilders before they were conquered, Amy said. The Dolgrim are excellent miners and metallurgists. The Kethvar are natural pilots and navigators. Would they fight alongside us? If they believed they could win, yes, Amy said. But they need to see the Caltharans actually defeated first. Admiral Park walked to the observation window and looked at the ships being built below. Small, fast, and deadly. Nothing like the massive warships the Caltharans expected to face. 4 months until they return, she said. Commander Zethkar thinks he's coming back to collect tribute from a conquered world. Jake joined her at the window. What's he going to find instead? Admiral Park smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. He's going to find humans who have spent 8 months studying his people, humans who have figured out how to beat Caltharan technology, humans who don't fight fair when survival is at stake. Kate was running final calculations on her tablet. Admiral, there's one more thing. The frequency weapons don't just work on their shields and engines. What else? Their armor plating, Kate said. If we hit their ships with the right resonance frequency, we can make their own hulls tear apart from the inside. Gary was impressed, despite himself. That's terrifying. That's the point, Admiral Park said. The Caltharans rule through intimidation and superior technology. When they realize that their advantages don't work anymore, their whole empire might start to crumble. Nina nodded. Psychological warfare. Once their image of invincibility is broken, their subject species will start asking questions. Ryan was monitoring communication traffic. Admiral, I'm picking up increased Caltharan military communications. They're moving additional fleets toward human space. How many ships total? At least 50, possibly more, Ryan said. They're not taking any chances this time. Jake looked unconcerned. 50 big, slow targets that can't maneuver quickly. Kate was calculating ammunition requirements. We'll need more frequency rounds. A lot more. How long to produce them? 2 weeks for what we need, Kate said. But Admiral, there's something else we should consider. What? Kate brought up a tactical display. Instead of waiting for them to come to us, why don't we go to them first? Admiral Park looked interested. Explain. Strike their supply depot before their main fleet arrives, Kate said. Cut off their logistics. Then hit their communication relay stations. Blind them and starve them at the same time. Jake was studying the tactical possibilities. It could work. Our ships are fast enough to hit multiple targets before they can respond. And if we time it right, Nina added, we can make them think they're under attack everywhere at once. Admiral Park looked around at her team. Final question. Are we absolutely certain these tactics will work? Gary nodded. The technical analysis is solid, Kate agreed. Their weaknesses are real. Nina was confident. Their psychological vulnerabilities are confirmed. Jake looked at the small fleet taking shape below them. Admiral, 8 months ago, the Caltharans thought they had found another weak species to conquer. Now they're about to learn what happens when you pick a fight with humans. The space around Earth's moon had never seen anything like the Caltharan fleet that arrived exactly 1 year after first contact. 15 massive warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Their hulls gleamed with weapons and armor. Their shields shimmered with barely contained energy. Commander Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the small planet ahead. Earth looked peaceful and defenseless. No massive defensive stations. No fleets of warships waiting in orbit. Just a few small vessels scattered around the system. Open communication to the human world, Zethkar ordered. The response came immediately. Captain Jake Morrison appeared on the screen. He was aboard the Terra Nova, the same ship from their first meeting. Behind him, the bridge looked calm and organized. Commander Zethkar, Jake said. Right on time. Where are the tribute ships? Zethkar demanded. Your world was ordered to prepare vessels full of food, metals, and workers. Jake looked directly at the alien commander. We've been taking notes. The simple statement confused Zethkar. Notes? What are notes? We've spent the last year studying you, Jake said. Learning how you think, how you fight, how your technology works. We've been very thorough. Zethkar made the sound that passed for Caltharan laughter. Study all you want. You cannot match the power of the Empire. Surrender now and your world will be spared. Actually, Jake said, we don't want to match your power. We want to beat it. Zethkar was about to respond when his tactical officer called out in alarm. Commander, detecting multiple small vessels approaching from various vectors. On the tactical display, dozens of small ships suddenly appeared. They had been hiding behind asteroids, inside sensor shadows, anywhere the Caltharans weren't looking. Each ship was tiny compared to the Caltharan warships, but there were 60 of them and they were moving very fast. All ships, battle formation, Zethkar ordered. The 15 Caltharan vessels moved into their traditional attack pattern. A wall of heavy armor and powerful shields facing the approaching human fleet. Kate Mitchell was aboard one of the lead human ships. Her railgun turrets were already charged and ready. All ships, remember your frequency assignments, she said over the communication network. Target their shield generators first. The human ships didn't approach in a straight line like every other species the Caltharans had fought. Instead, they came from all directions at once. Some dove toward the Caltharan formation from above. Others attacked from the sides. A few came straight up from below. What are they doing? Zethkar demanded. This is not proper battle formation. His weapons officer was confused. Commander, they're not following any tactical doctrine we understand. The first human ship opened fire. 3 tungsten rods launched from its railguns and struck the nearest Caltheran vessel. The ship's shields absorbed the impact, but something strange happened. The shields began to vibrate. The frequency of the projectiles matched the shield generator's resonance exactly. Within seconds, the shields tore themselves apart. The Caltheran ship was left completely defenseless. Impossible, Zethkar shouted. Our shields stop all projectile weapons. More human ships attacked. Each one fired kinetic projectiles at precise frequencies. Caltheran shields throughout the fleet began failing. Some vibrated themselves to pieces. Others overloaded their power systems, trying to compensate for the resonance effects. Captain Sam Burke led a group of human ships in a coordinated attack on the Caltheran flagship. His ships moved in ways the aliens had never seen. They twisted and turned between the massive Caltheran vessels, too fast and maneuverable for the heavy weapons to track. Fire all weapons, Zethkar ordered. The Caltheran ships opened fire with everything they had. Massive energy beams lanced through space, but the human ships weren't where the weapons were aimed. They had already moved, attacking from new angles. Dr. Ryan Cole was monitoring Caltheran communications from his position aboard Jake's ship. Captain, they're trying to call for reinforcements. Jam their communications, Jake ordered. Ryan activated the communication disruption system. He had spent months learning Caltheran encryption patterns. Now he used that knowledge against them. False signals flooded their communication networks. Orders were changed in transmission. Reinforcement requests were deleted before they could be sent. Commander, called the Caltheran communication officer. We've lost contact with the fleet command. Zethkar couldn't understand what was happening. His shields were failing. His weapons couldn't hit the fast-moving human ships. His communications were compromised. Nothing like this had ever happened before. Kate's ship had destroyed the shields on 3 Caltheran vessels. Now she targeted their engines. The frequency-specific ammunition struck the Caltheran drive systems and made them vibrate at their resonance frequency. Engine components that had worked perfectly for centuries suddenly tore themselves apart. Engine failure on ships 7, 9, and 12, reported the Caltheran tactical officer. More human ships swarmed around the disabled Caltheran vessels. But instead of destroying them, they deployed boarding pods, small fast capsules that attached to Caltheran hulls and cut through the armor. They're boarding our ships. Zethkar couldn't believe it. No species has ever dared to board Caltheran vessels. Amy Rodriguez was aboard one of the boarding pods. She had been waiting 8 months to study Caltherans up close. Her team of Marines secured the ship while she collected biological samples and technical data. Captain Morrison, Amy reported, we have control of 3 Caltheran ships. I'm downloading their computer systems now. Dr. Nina Foster had predicted exactly how the Caltharans would react to unexpected tactics. They had frozen up, unable to adapt to a battle that didn't follow their rules. Their rigid military doctrine had become a weakness. The battle was over in less than an hour. 5 Caltheran ships were captured intact. 4 more were disabled and drifting powerless. The rest of the fleet was trapped, unable to maneuver with failed engines and no shields. Zethkar found himself staring at Jake Morrison on his view screen again. But this time the human captain was not alone. Standing beside him were Caltheran prisoners that Amy's teams had captured. Impossible, Zethkar whispered. Commander, Jake said calmly, we told you we'd been taking notes. We learned that your shields only work against energy weapons. We learned that your tactics never change. We learned that your communication systems use predictable encryption. Jake gestured to the captured Caltherans beside him. We also learned about the 17 species you've conquered. The tribute they're forced to pay. The restrictions on their freedom. Zethkar's yellow eyes widened. How could you know about the subject worlds? We've been watching them for months, Jake said. Studying their history, learning about their cultures. Some of them remember what freedom was like. Admiral Park's voice came over the communication channel. Commander Zethkar, this is Admiral Lisa Park of Earth Defense Command. Humanity formally declines your invitation to become subjects of the Caltharan Empire. You cannot refuse the Empire, Zethkar protested. We just did, Admiral Park said. However, we would be happy to discuss mutual trade agreements with any species interested in independence from imperial rule. On the tactical display, more ships were approaching. But these weren't Caltharan reinforcements. They were human vessels carrying something very important. Jake smiled at the alien commander. We've prepared information packages for 17 different worlds in your empire. Technical data on how to defeat Caltheran shields and weapons. Cultural analysis of Caltheran weaknesses. Everything those species need to know to win their freedom. Zethkar realized what the humans were saying. You're going to start rebellions. We're going to deliver the truth, Jake said. That the Caltheran Empire can be beaten. That species don't have to live under imperial rule. That freedom is possible. Amy finished her research on the captured Caltheran ships. The biological data would help humanity understand their enemies better. But more importantly, she had found detailed records of every world in the Caltheran Empire. Population counts, resource assessments, military garrison strengths. Captain, Amy reported, I have complete intelligence on all Caltheran territory, including the locations of resistance movements on 12 different worlds. Kate had been analyzing captured Caltheran technology. Captain, their ships are actually pretty simple once you understand how they work. Any species with basic engineering knowledge could adapt our frequency weapons to work against them. Dr. Foster's psychological analysis had been perfect. The Caltharans were completely unprepared for defeat. Their entire worldview was based on being superior to all other species. Now that illusion was shattered. What do you want? Zethkar asked. We want you to leave, Admiral Park said. Go back to your empire. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humanity is not interested in being conquered. And tell them, Jake added, that any species that wants help gaining independence from the Empire can contact us. We'll be visiting your territory soon. The remaining Caltharan ships began powering up their faster-than-light drives. With their shields down and engines damaged, they couldn't fight anymore. All they could do was retreat. This is not over, Zethkar said. You're right, Jake replied.